Welcome to PHX Stories from the City of Phoenix. Palm trees are everywhere in Phoenix. They grow well and thrive in our hot summers. But the palm tree is not native to the area, and before 1880 were virtually unheard of here. Historian Steve Schumacher has the story of Phoenix's first palm tree and how they proliferated and came to be a familiar part of our landscape. But first, Steve set the scene of what small-town Phoenix was like in 1879.
Yeah, in 1879, Phoenix was just a small little village, really. I don't know that there was even 1,000 people running around. The roads were still dirt. The town site was like a half a mile in diameter. There just really wasn't much there. I mean, Phoenix had only been discovered and inhabited 9 years before that.
Steve's research led him to a prominent Phoenician by the name of Alexander Lemon and what he brought back from a trip overseas in 1879.
Well, A.D. Lemon, or Alexander Lemon, was one of the first attorneys in Phoenix and in Maricopa County. He later became a very prominent judge in the state. And he was quite wealthy, as most attorneys at that time frame would be, and he had made a trip to the Sandwich Islands, and he brought back some seeds for palm trees.
Back in Phoenix, Alexander Lemon knew Clara Evans, a woman who lived at 2nd Avenue in Monroe. Lemon and Evans socialized together and had a lot of common friends.
She was a resident of Phoenix and owned and operated a teacher training academy on Monroe and about 2nd Avenue. They knew each other. They hung out together.
Alexander Lemon gave Clara Evans some of the palm tree seeds he brought back from the Sandwich Islands.
And she planted it in her front yard, and from there it just took off.
Well, Clara's palm tree grew tall, and in a desert town where cactus, ironwood, mesquite, and sage were the dominant plants, it became somewhat of an exotic attraction.
People, when they came through Phoenix, wherever they were headed, stopping at her place and taking a photograph of that palm tree was a regular occurrence. She was always on the list of things to see and take a photograph of, was this original palm tree in her yard. And once she planted that and people became accustomed to seeing that and became interested in it, obviously others took other seeds and seedlings and planted them. And having palm trees on your property became a sign of prominence.
It wasn't long before early land speculators in Phoenix saw a potential in palm trees and used them to add an upscale flair to their developments.
Mid-1890s, Dwight Hurd came to town and started developing a lot of properties around Phoenix. He developed the Los Olivos subdivision, and it was known, one of the taglines for Los Olivos was, it has 4 miles of palm trees, because the roads were 4 miles when you add them all up, and they were all lined with palm trees. And he felt like that was another way to show it was a prominent subdivision. He wanted people with money to buy a home there, and palm trees was one way of doing that. The price of palm trees was only about 50 to 75 cents at that point, so he could buy tons of them and plant them and serve his purpose of drawing rich people to those subdivisions, and it really didn't cost him that much money.
Soon, palm trees were everywhere, as well as other non-native plants that did well in our desert climate.
These plants, not just the palm tree, but everything you see, oleanders, roses, those are all imported. Those are not native to Phoenix either. About the only things that are native are the various species of cactus, mesquite, greasewood, those kinds of Sonora desert plants. Everything else you look at that's ornamental and beautiful has been brought in from somewhere else.
Now, Clara Evans never profited from her palm tree, choosing instead to become a force in training future Phoenix teachers.
She's most well known for her time being on the Board of Education, and she also started a teacher training academy, she called it, that was part of her property there on 2nd Avenue in Monroe as well. And so she prepared students to attend universities and teacher training colleges like ASU later on. She became very prominent in the education field within Phoenix, Maricopa County, and Arizona.
And Alexander Lemon built on his success with several developments in downtown Phoenix.
He actually built one of the first hotels in downtown Phoenix. It was at 3rd Street and Washington. It was called the Lemon Hotel, and it became the Gold Hotel later on and lasted quite a long time. And it catered primarily to cavalry officers from Fort McDowell when they would come into Phoenix and so forth. He was not only a prominent attorney, he became a prominent judge, and he also became a prominent land and hotel owner later on in life.
But little did Lemon or Evans know that that little seed brought back from the Sandwich Islands would make such a big difference in Phoenix.
Well, as much as that first palm tree and probably the first several were oddities and a must-see and something very unique to Phoenix back in the late 1800s, as time went on and they were planted in various subdivisions and the seeds would grow, and the palm tree that was unique in the late 1880s became very commonplace in the early 1900s, and people were planting them everywhere and they were growing on their own everywhere. But I remember as a young boy coming to Phoenix for the first time when I was 10 years old with my parents from South Dakota, driving down Central Avenue and just being agog at seeing the first palm tree. I imagine the people in the late 1870s, when they saw the palm tree in Clara Evans' yard, they probably reacted pretty much the same way.